A week ago, we gave you Captain Leonard Fournette. On Monday night, we gave you Captain Derrick Henry. And tonight, I really don't know. This is a pretty gross slate.
I suffer from a debilitating condition known as atropic chokitis.
Peter's one of the greatest depositors I've ever seen.
Trust the process. Let's go. Let's go.
I got auto matched with Levitan. This is bullshit.
If I just go the other way, in that 66, I win all the money. All the money.
If I had 150 lineups, I'd win too.
Process over results.
Illuminati make a bitch go crazy. I don't know which one of these my baby. Bust down AP, cut spot bullets in your head like KD. Bust it, bitch go bust it. And I had 10 pints with me in Russia.
Hey everyone.
Hey everyone. How are we doing? Mike knows I'm punctual. That's what I do. I had been doing the Showdown Crams at 7:30. I pushed them back to 7:45 selfishly because I needed a little bit more time to make my lineups. Now that I've been playing more of the 20 max, I need that extra time. The hand building, we can whip those together pretty quickly. But when you're deep in these 20 max streets and it's a 190,000 person contest and we're begging the field not to dupe us, I need a little bit of extra time. Sometimes a guy named John Brown ends up in your 20 max lineups because you're trying to make sure that you are not duped. I didn't even know John Brown was in this game tonight until the Sims started sprinkling on a little John Brown. But again, I'm telling you right now, do not play John Brown unless you're in the 200,000 person contest. Okay. And even then, don't play him because then you might dupe me. Schwartz night, I think Anthony Schwartz looks pretty good. The thing is, unlike the previous two Showdown Crams we've done, there isn't just this obvious captain slam. I also want to make one thing clear. Like, people were giving me pats on the back for Leonard Fournette and Derrick Henry. When we're talking about those plays, I have no inclination that they are going to perform well. It's just strictly saying the field is not playing them enough relative to what the math says. So if you think that I have some great insight into which players are going to perform really well, I don't. What I think I can provide insight on is, if we are right, how can we make sure we get paid off in a way that is meaningful? And that's very hard to do when you're eating the chalk. So tonight, when I'm looking at my captain screener, there's 3 or 4 guys that are showing moderate leverage. Case Keenum, surprisingly, despite being rostered in the captain slot at around a 10% clip, he's showing up in the sim 16% of the time. So that's interesting to me with Case Keenum. Tim Patrick looks pretty good. I'm seeing around a 5% ownership for him in the captain slot. He's showing up in the sims around 9.5% of the time. Similar for Jarvis Landry. Both Jarvis Landry and Tim Patrick, about 5.5 percentage points of ownership and showing up in the sims around 10%. That looks pretty good to me. And some very moderate captain leverage on D'Ernest Johnson. He's going to be used around 7 to 8%, and he's showing up in the sims around 13% as well. So the aggregated ownership is a little bit different on some of these guys. There are some discrepancies on ownership, which could make things a little interesting tonight. But in general, I'm seeing a ton of kind of spread out captain ownership, not a ton of huge leverage plays. I do think the defenses are going to get overused tonight, probably relative to how much they're showing up in the sims. And that tends to happen on slates like this. People look at these games, they see the total, and they say, let's jam some defenses. So let's pull up the sims here. We might be able to find some ways to get unique on this slate, maybe take some angles that our opponents are not taking. How are we doing in here? Let's see. I forgot this was a revenge game. I mean, look at what an awful tout I am. I hadn't even updated my models with the Case Keenum revenge. Jason says, I see my Schwartz is as big as yours. Okay. Yeah, I know everyone wants this week's Henry. We're going to have to talk through it. By the end of this stream, you will walk away with our generation's Derrick Henry captain play. Um, Pete, just stop it. We are your clay and are here for you to mold us. Wow. That is a lot of pressure. That is a lot of pressure. Am I a Showdown role model? Okay. So basically you can see here, one of the things that's interesting is looking at this Broncos rush rate. The Broncos have actually been willing to go extremely pass heavy in negative game scripts. And this is where I wonder if or we could have a bit of an edge here if we play this game as the Broncos win. Because I think if we boost up their rush rate, which the Broncos have also been very willing to run when they have a lead, I think that might give us some different textured lineups than the field. But let's just to start run it with these baseline assumptions, which is Cleveland wins in a very low scoring game. We see the inputs here reflect an implied team total of 19.8 for the Broncos, 20.8 for the Browns, and a pretty high rush rate here for the Browns, which makes sense. And we can see here what the Sims are spitting out. You see right here, right away, a pretty high captain ownership for Case Keenum. This column right here represents how often they are appearing in the winning lineups across the 10,000 Sims. So we have Case Keenum, 17.4%, and then very spread out here. Dearness Johnson, 12.6%. Cortland Sutton, 15.4%. Jarvis Landry, 10.8%. Teddy Bridgewater, kind of the surprise, but I guess with what his salary is at, it makes sense that he would be less popular and show up a little less frequently than some of these other plays, 7.1%. Tim Patrick, I mentioned him before. I think he looks pretty nice at 8.8%. And that's kind of what we're looking at here as far as the captain stuff. When we look at the custom lineups, I didn't necessarily see a dominant trend as far as the 4-2s, the 5-1s, etc. You see right here at the top, and let me actually make my screen a little bigger so we can see the product own here as well. A couple lineups in here that are showing not an absurd product own. I do think like most slates, like if we're able to push ourselves to 5-1s in either direction, I think that's going to help us be unique because it does seem like the 3-3s and the 4-2s are going to be relatively popular tonight because there is value on both sides. Normally those 4-2s will originate when one side has most of the value plays, but because of so much of the injuries and the value that's kind of opened up here, I think the builds are going to be fairly balanced. And that's why I want to push to the 5-1. Like you see this lineup down here that I'm hovering over. I think this is a really interesting lineup. You can see the product own here is pretty low at 22.6. And I think what makes it interesting is specifically that we have both of the Broncos running backs and the Broncos defense in here. And this is kind of like a similar build to, I don't want to say the Derrick Henry one because he was the captain, but where you're just playing this as if all the offense goes through Dearness Johnson and the Broncos smash. And I think that's a pretty interesting construction there. If we see the product own is going to be relatively low, we can see the top one here. The Cleveland Browns defense does sneak into this one, and the product owned isn't out of control. Cortland Sutton, Jarvis Landry, Dearness Johnson, Bridgewater, Case Keenum, Browns D. I think this lineup could be fairly popular just based on the construction. I think a lot of people will be happy to play the Browns and Dearness Johnson together as well as Landry and Keenum. So I don't think this lineup is going to be too sneaky, but I just like looking at these obviously to give us some ideas here. Let's see if we can find an off the board one. Here's a 7.5 and a 5.9. Odell Beckham is kind of the common theme here as far as some of these lineups that are, maybe flying under the radar from an ownership perspective, which I think is interesting because even though he wasn't ruled out earlier today, I think people, I don't know, had been kind of mentally preparing for him not to play tonight. And I think that naturally suppresses his ownership a bit. So, I mean, I'm not excited to play Odell Beckham. Like, I don't want to play Odell Beckham, but from a pure math standpoint and a pure upside standpoint, I think he makes a decent amount of success. Fred with the super chat because I told him to switch browsers. Look at this. Easy work. Thank you, Fred. I'm glad that worked out for you. Kyle asking me about the thoughts on the effective 24 mile per hour wind in the passing game. This is breaking news to me, Kyle. I did not know there was wind in general from my DFS play. It's not until those wind gusts get up to 30 to 40 mile per hour winds that we really start to worry. And even then, we're worrying about that in relation to big plays, in relation to the passing game. And I think we all assume this is going to be a fairly run heavy game plan for both of these teams. If anything, the bonus is if the field is going to overplay the kickers, that's all the more reason to fade the kickers. You can see through all of these lineups that we were scrolling through, not a ton of kickers showing up in these simulated lineups. So if there's win concerns and the math doesn't like them, pretty easy to fade the kickers tonight. The losers win again says, would you fade Sutton for Patrick or play both? I think both of those angles are viable. I mean, we can look at our projected ownership. I mean, Cortland Sutton 53% versus Tim Patrick 45%. Tim Patrick isn't sneaky per se. I think he's far more sneaky in the captain spot. You know, we see him down here at a much lower captain ownership. But I think you can certainly play both of them together. I don't think they're necessarily negatively correlated by any means. Tim Patrick has been rock solid. So I think there's viability to playing both or to be playing Patrick in the captain slot if you're looking for some leverage there. I don't think Odell is popping too much. I mean, we see him coming in here we don't have his ownership here. Let me go see what ETR had his ownership at. Odell Beckham, I'm seeing around 25%. Osmo's ownership on him is similar, and then he's showing up in the Sims only 18% of the time. So the ownership is outpacing what the math is saying. Let's see what we have his inputs here. Odell, we still have him at a 17% target share, which is obviously a little bit lower than Jarvis Landry. 18% TD market share, 51% catch rate. So I understand being conservative on Odell's projection here. I think he's one of those players, like if you're only building a couple lineups, you kind of just have to make a stand on him. I can see the upside scenarios, but I don't know. I've been really just trusting the Sims with a lot of kind of my hand build decisions. And with the 20 max stuff, I'm way more interested in making sure my ownership is in check, my product owned. So I'm not getting duplicated. With the hand builds, I think you just need to make a stand. If you think Odell Beckham can return to glory, I think he's a decent play at only being used by a quarter of the field here. FYI, the defenses in OBJ have an own percentage of 0, lowering the product own when they're in the lineup. Okay. Yep. Thank you for pointing that out. That is a very good point of why those custom lineups would be showing a lower product own than that. So let me see. I will give you, so the Browns and Broncos, I'm seeing around 15% flex ownership for them. And let's just see how often they are showing up. We're seeing 21% for the Browns. So they're getting over, or actually coming in the optimal lineups a little bit more. That actually surprises me based on their ownership. Broncos, 17.5%, a little closer. So it seems like the Browns are a slightly better play relative to what their ownership is going to be, around 15%. And I do think, if you're hand building here and you can see some of the lineups where these defenses are showing up and you are seeing them paired with a running back or two running backs. And to me, that makes sense. Like this lineup we looked at below here with, if you're going to have Melvin Gordon with the Broncos defense, that makes sense to me. Where's another one here that had that? Yeah, here's the Broncos. This one's actually really interesting. Broncos defense against a Keenum, Landry, Dearness Johnson. That one is a little harder of a story for me to see there. What do we have going on? Why is someone screaming Tannehill right now? What's going on with Tannehill? Um, let's see here. Duh, 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 duh. What about Felton? What about Felton? Yeah, he's an interesting one. Definitely going to be more of a pass game specialist. His price is interesting at 5,000. It looks like he's appearing here 19% of the time. When I'm looking at his average ownership, it's very close. I'm seeing him around 18% ownership. So he seems just like an average play. I think he's probably pretty smart to play in Broncos onslaughts, right? Like if you're viewing him as the Nyheim Hines, the JD McKissick of this team, and they get down, I think Felton becomes pretty interesting. We could do let's do one where the Broncos are up big. Let's just see here. Let's say the Broncos are winning like 25-14. The Browns rush rate comes down to 43%. The Broncos rush rate goes up to like 46% because they're able to do what they want. Let's see if Felton pops a little bit more in that case, or if he stays in check. So in this scenario, we do see Felton up to 19%. So not a huge jump for Felton there, even in that game script. Let's see what his inputs are. Because intuitively, it would make sense to me that he would get used more. We see he does have a much larger market share of receiving than the two other backs, but evidently not enough to make too big of a dent there, even when you change the game script. So I think Demetric Felton is fine, but I think he's kind of a low ceiling play. And even when we kind of mess with these game scripts to get the Browns more pass happy, he's not popping well. So I don't know. I'm not running to the booth to submit Demetric Felton in my lineups. Thoughts on Hinton? Well, I bet an under. I bet the Hinton under on this underdog pick'em, and some of the bros like the Hinton over. They didn't like this call. I was checking out the Sims. This is the Rashard Higgins under. I took 28.5, and the Kendall Hinton under 18.5. That one seemed pretty nice to me with a median 9 receiving yards there. But obviously, Showdown is a different beast. We can see what the inputs are here: an 8% market share, 4.9% TD market share. And I don't believe he was showing up a ton in these optimal results. We can scroll down. Kendall Hinton only showing up in 4% of these lineups. So another one of those plays that I don't get too excited about. I'd rather play Anthony Schwartz, honestly, because we've already seen Anthony Schwartz be used as a big field or downfield deep threat. So if I'm kind of in that price range and I'm shooting for more upside, I think that's really where you can get your leverage. And when I was looking at my screener here, Anthony Schwartz, I mean, his ownership looks real low. Like I'm seeing it around 2%, and he's showing up in the Sims, 4 to 5%. So it's again, not a play that's, just screaming at us, but it also makes sense that Anthony Schwartz could get there on one play. And I think that's maybe a little more true than it is for Kendall Hinton, who doesn't get used as deep down the field. Njoku and Hooper in the same lineup. I don't mind that. When I was running my 20 max stuff and I was getting a decent amount of Hooper, I assume just because his ownership is going to be so low, and he does look like one of the better leverage plays. I'm seeing his ownership around 10%, and he's showing up in the Sims around 20%, 18.6% in this one. So that one doesn't look too bad to me. Let's play one of these as if it's like more of a shootout, just because that is going to be a little bit more of a contrarian angle. Let's just say the Browns win a big shootout just for kicks. 30-27 Browns. Broncos rush rate drops back down to like 43%. Cleveland Browns, they're probably back at 45% if they're winning a high scoring close game. The problem with, I was tweaking with these earlier before the show started, and it was hard to get anything to really change meaningfully even when you change those inputs in a pretty drastic way. You do see in this high scoring game, Keenum does shoot up to 21%, which is pretty good. That's what, a 4% boost off of where he was when we ran it in the lower scoring game. So makes sense that Keenum would be find himself in the winning lineups more in a high scoring game. Dearness Johnson also pops a little bit more here. He bumps up from 13% to 15%. So nothing really drastic. And that's why I feel like this is a bit of a tough slate. We just don't have the really well-defined leverage points that make it easy. So, when I was hand building a few of my lineups early, looking at the captains, Keenum, Tim Patrick, and Landry were the three that looked pretty nice to me as far as gaining some leverage on the field. And so I was building kind of accordingly from that angle here. Overzet is paper hands on NFTs, says holding number 72. Yeah, I've been paper handing the shit out of some dusty NFTs. You caught me. Let's see here. John Kelly, if the Browns are up. Yeah, he's an interesting one. I was scoping his inputs in here as well. Only having 12% market share of rushing. It seems thin. I mean, they just promoted him off of the practice squad. He wasn't showing up in this much at all, 5% of the time. I think John Kelly's one of those super large field. If you're playing the $3.20 max with 190,000 people, if you're playing the big contest, then I think John Kelly is viable. I'm not going to be messing with him in 3 max and single entry. Donovan loves the Peoples Jones. I feel like he's a trap at this price in this ownership. I mean, at 6,400, Ben Gretsch had a great stat in stealing signals about him. I mean, he's being targeted. I think it was on 11% of his routes. It's just pitiful. We were talking about it on Ship Chasing last night. It's like Jalen Guyton territory. And you're basically paying this premium because he had that Hail Mary touchdown last week. So the field is chasing the box score, and he's just not being targeted at a high enough clip to justify that. And that's why I'd rather just play Schwartz. Like, if I want to make the Donovan Peoples-Jones play, like, why not just come down to Anthony Schwartz? You see that their difference of appearing in the Sims is almost negligible, 6.7%, 4.6%, but you're picking up over 5,000 in savings. So I'm not on the DPJ train tonight. I mean, I get the thesis of it. He's used downfield, big plays, yada, yada. I don't know. Not for me, dog. If you guys want to tail me on my unders tonight, I mean, let's have a blast. Who wants to tail me on Kendall Hinton under 18.5 yards and Rashard Higgins under 28.5? Can you imagine a better way to spend your Thursday evening than tailing that? Avion says, when you're playing your 20 max, do you try to split it evenly between a bunch of different game flow scenarios? Yes, I do. I run the Sims generally 3 or 4 different times. I'll run it just on the default assumptions. Then I'll go in and I'll say, okay, what do the custom lineups look like in a Broncos blowout? What do the custom lineups look like in a Browns blowout? What do they look like in a high scoring close game? I'll just try to play through a few different scenarios and just make sure I'm shaking up the kind of the textures of my lineups, because I feel like that's where we have the edge, right? In that most people who are using regular optimizers are getting spit out lineups based on median projections. And the Sims are helping us capture the range of outcomes of how those games can go. So I definitely think if you're building a bunch of lineups, take advantage of spitting out lineups under different game conditions. And you can go in. I feel more comfortable messing with the macro inputs, as you guys have seen, points scored, rush rate, stuff like that. If you feel like you have more of a hint, if you feel so much confidence that Kendall Hinton is going to have a bigger market share than 8%, I mean, knock yourself out. Play those scenarios through. Just be careful, because there's more of a domino effect to adjusting the individual market share than there is of just changing the overall macro inputs, which will naturally be reflected through those percentages. So if you boost Kendall Hinton, you got to take it away from someone. So maybe you're saying, all right, Deontay Spencer isn't going to have anything, so I'm going to take his 1%, give it to Kendall Hinton. So I would just be mindful of that if you're messing with the individual inputs. But yeah, to your point, I like building out lineups for a few different game scenarios and then checking that product ownership, making sure that I'm not taking on anything that's too duplicated. Matt Smith says, DK, GPP, OBJ, or Landry? I mean, I prefer Landry. I think he's a safer play. I think he probably even has a higher ceiling. I don't think I think we're getting a bit of an injury discount of him returning from injury. I think if he had played last week and was fine, I think at this price tag he would be super, super popular. So I think you're getting just a smidge of a discount on Jarvis Landry, and you should take advantage of that. Okay. Before this game starts, I wanted to open one of my packs. For the Owners Club, you guys have seen me talking about this on my Saturday morning or Sunday morning shows. I've just been converting my winnings to packs. You can now use your own the moment balance to just transfer it into packs. I actually got cards. I had enough to get a pack and 3 cards. I had a very nice pull. I pulled Cardinals QB, but I thought I would save my pack opening for you guys. Oh no. Did I not do the music? This is the number 1 rule on my shows is you have to select the Chrome tab in the share audio. How did I mess that up? All right, we're back now. We're back. Oh no. Did I ruin it? I ruined it. God damn it. It did the auto pack. It auto opened it to me. Brutal. This is like I just accidentally revealed all that. What did we get here? Ooh, okay. Green Bay wide receiver. That's good. New York running back. Come back, Saquon. I already have a Los Angeles tight end. I think I already have Arizona DST. And I think I already have a Zach Wilson. But I will take that Green Bay. Do I have the QB? I think I have Green Bay QB. Yes. All right. That actually makes it nice to be able to get the Rodgers Devontae Adams stack. So congratulations. You just guys saw me do the least climactic pack opening ever because I forgot to screen share. I revealed all. I inadvertently revealed all. There's no drama when I open these. But yeah, if you guys have questions about the Owners Club, I got a channel in the Deposit Kingdom Discord. Been having a lot of fun putting those together. Might even be in the spreadsheets these days for the Owners Club. Starting to get kind of hooked on building these lineups here. A couple other things. The week 7 rake-free Deposit Kingdom DraftKings contest is up. I have the link in the show notes. I have it pinned in the Discord. I believe it's already over half full. This will fill by late tomorrow night or tomorrow morning. So get in it if you like really good tournaments. I will admit it is not a super soft tournament because the lineups in there and the ownership is very sharp, but it's rake free. So it's as if there's, a certain amount of lineups that aren't even being submitted relative to other contests where there's a rake. So take advantage of that. Thank you to the people over at DraftKings for hooking us up. Thank you to Run the Sims for all the tools. They have been steering us in the right direction these past few slates. We'll keep it rolling. You guys can get 10% off with promo code Pete. Get access to the Discord. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. The Cram in it. We are here every Monday and Thursday night cramming before the slates. I hope you guys bink. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.